Hi, it's Jon Mitchell, Mayor of New Bedford, and this is another installment of the Mayor's Weekly Update. So let's begin as we have been for the last year and a half, and that's with COVID. So as we know now, cases are still going up. In fact, the average number of new cases now is about 3 times what it was last January, which had been the highest point in the pandemic. The Omicron virus accounts for almost all of the new cases, and it's highly contagious. And that's why, we've reached a point now where, there's everybody knows somebody who's getting it. The good news is that it is not generates an illness that, in most cases, is not as serious as the previous variants, but there's still some people who get really sick, and those almost invariably are people who are either entirely unvaccinated or don't have their boosters, almost every last one of them. So again, you've heard it from me before. I believe I would be shirking my duty as mayor if I did not emphasize the need for everyone to get vaccinated, and if you are vaccinated, to get your booster. Right now, only 16% of city residents are boosted. There are lots of people out there, including people who are older and with underlying health conditions, who got their initial vaccines but haven't gotten their boosters yet. We need you to get your booster. The vaccines do wear off after a while, and so we want to make sure that for those of you who've been willing to go ahead and get that initial set of vaccine shots, that you're actually out there getting the booster so that you can continue to enjoy immunity. That's really what we're getting at. I see what's going on in the hospital right now. That's going to make a difference. You can get boosters at the city clinics, which take place at the Andre McCoy Rec Center, as well as at PACA. Take a look at the city's website for those days, but they are there. And if you need to get the times for those, just call the health department. They'll tell you. That's easy enough. And you can get them also at CVS and Walgreens and the other pharmacies, and at your medical provider. So the vaccines are out there. The booster does count. Get your booster. The other thing I'll say is right now the hospitals are jammed, and that includes St. Luke's, and they're jammed with COVID patients. People with COVID who are there with COVID, and people who are there because of COVID in both instances. If you have something that is not that serious, that you might otherwise go to the emergency room with, you have to think twice about that. You really, if you are seriously ill, you should go to the emergency room. If you're not seriously ill, then go call your doctor. We're trying to control the number of people, tamp down on the number of people who are actually going into the emergency room. So the emergency room shouldn't be a first resort for somebody who's experiencing mild symptoms, or in the case of COVID, is just a close contact. A couple of other things I want to talk about. Of course, while we're dealing with COVID, we're also trying to advance a number of other things. And so among those things are the work that we're doing in the port to ensure that we're growing job opportunities for our residents. That means protecting and enhancing the fishing industry, as well as promoting New Bedford as a place where the offshore wind industry will invest. On the fishing front, we've been very active in ensuring that areas that have been traditionally fished are protected, and this is especially true in an area of ocean called the New York Bight, which is off the coast of New Jersey and New York. I don't know why it's called the Bight, but it is. It's an area where a lot of our scallopers go, and we want them to continue to scallop there, even as in certain parts of the New York Bight, offshore windmills are developed. So we've had some success this week in convincing the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management, which is a federal agency, to cut back in places where windmills might have gone, so as to allow for fishing. So that was a result of our strong advocacy in the area, and we're pleased that that's what we're saying, what we've said to the federal government has made a difference. When it comes to offshore wind and promoting New Bedford, I testified earlier this week at a hearing in Boston, a legislative hearing about promoting the offshore wind industry investment, especially here in New Bedford. We want to make sure that we're seizing as much of that opportunity as possible. We've seen how it's played out in Europe. In Europe, where there's a lot of offshore wind, there are a number of port cities that have seen a considerable amount of investment. We want to do the same here in New Bedford and capture as much of that as possible. So, we look forward to to that work, and we'll continue in all cases to press the interests of our city. And we're very assertive about it, and we are, I believe, making a difference on that front. And we look forward to the results as they unfold. With all that, this has been the Mayor's Weekly Update. We'll see you next week.